Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 26th of December for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you a broad overview that we can all relate to, but please stay with me. I will then dive deep into each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces. So as we come into this week, one of the aspects that's not really been discussed very much is the fact that Saturn, the planet of structure, in one of its two home zones of Aquarius, is in a semi-sextile with Neptune in the sign of Pisces. So we've got two planets located in their home berths, so they're in dignity. This semi-sextile is interesting because we're seeing some major structural changes in the world, and this week of course is very much to do with Capricornian energy because we have the Sun, Mercury, Venus and Pluto all in that sign. We also have Venus and Mercury coming into a conjunction on the 29th, despite Mercury going into retrograde that day. And also on the first day of 2023, Venus and Pluto come into an exact conjunction. So why am I talking about Saturn and Neptune in Aquarius and Pisces? Because I feel it's the direction of travel that's starting to open up. Once Pluto moves into Aquarius on the 24th of March, okay, it's just a brief journey through to early June this coming year, but it will be back for the long term through to year 44 from the 21st of January 2024. And the Aquarian energy that we're being pulled towards is more about a higher consciousness about how each of our individual behaviours, because Aquarius is very much the sign of the individual, but also how that collectively works with one another. Whereas Capricornian energy is much more to do with the established, the more ordered way of doing things that has become more the precedence over time. So I think that Capricornian energy, as we come into the start of 2023, is still really important. And having Venus and Pluto in a conjunction, my word, that can lead to some fated developments for many people throughout the year. But with Mercury in a retrograde, that's given us a bit of a clue that we need to rethink how we handle resources, how we approach things to do with materialism, just what value do we put on those old-fashioned notions of status, big properties, big cars. All of those things are going to come under increasing stress through the energy that's going to develop with Pluto in Aquarius. And Saturn has given us a taste over the last few years. So the angle between Saturn and Neptune is asking us to blend our perceptions and our sensitivities with the more progressive side of our thinking and how that interacts with other people. Now, it is also true to say that even though Mercury goes into the retrograde, which it will emerge from on January the 18th, it will still be in its post-shadow retrograde through to the 7th of February. So the early parts of 2023 are not necessarily going to be a straightforward plan. So we can set those New Year's resolutions. I should say that on New Year's Eve itself, the moon is in the sign of Taurus, where it really likes to be. It's exalted here, so a lovely place to be. And it's actually forging a beautiful semi-sextile to Jupiter, the planet of growth, newly arrived back in the sign of Aries. So I think that kind of says to us that the moon in Taurus is very much an appreciation of the good things in life, whether it's good food or good wine. But the Jupiterian energy is asking us through its rulership of Pisces to be mindful of the spiritual dimension, but also that we may have to refocus our longer term aims and goals because the world is changing radically, whether it's through automation, robotics, artificial intelligence, because we have the internet and technology has become at the core of so many of our lives. But as we come into the new year, and I'd like to wish you a very happy new year, On Sunday, the first day of this new dawn, that combination between Venus and Pluto is something to be mindful of, particularly in terms of business situations, because someone very charming and very persuasive is a person many of us will encounter in the new year. But we need to make sure that we're watching out for what the true motivations are of them and perhaps of ourselves on that particular event. So a lot of energy in the sign of Capricorn. That is asking us to think about goals, ambitions, and also it could be a culmination of a lot of effort that's gone in over a long period of time, where some people could get a deserved reward. But I think for many of us, what's absolutely true about modern life is that staying exactly as we are just isn't really an option, because the environment around us, quite literally, but also the interhumanal environment, is quite literally changing by the second. So sticking with those old objectives and those old ways of measuring what's important in life, such as the size of the property we live in, are going to make way much more for how we connect to other people and how we can find kinship, but also how we can find our individuality beyond the realm of purely making money. And I must stress, there's absolutely nothing wrong with making money whatsoever. So please stay with me for your in-depth zodiac forecast. But if you've yet to get your year 2023 12-month personal forecast, if you order it now, you can get your life roadmap as well, 2 charts, and 30% off. But I will also give you your general 12-month forecast, your Chinese forecast for the year, and your Indian forecast. They're all 3 within the package. Please see the link below. So Pisces, your week commencing the 26th of December forecast sees that gathering of energy in the sign of Capricorn, which for you is the 11th house, the sector of friendship. Now, I was just thinking about that song that Carole King wrote, You Got a Friend. James Taylor covered it as well. It was one of my great favourites. My first ever album was Carole King Tapestry, which I've owned many times over because I kept loaning it out to people because it was so good. And of course, inevitably, you don't always get it back. But yeah, friends, you've got a friend. Who are your friends? Who are the people that you can connect to? It doesn't necessarily have to be people you know personally. It could be the people that you just feel very aligned to in the public eye, that you feel represent the values that are important to you, the collective. But with Mercury going into a retrograde in this area, a friendship could be a bit disappointing this week, because Mercury conjunction with Venus ordinarily would be extraordinarily bright, but then the retrograde could see something happen that you're not expecting, like a connection with someone that you are friends with but haven't heard from for a while. And so Mercury retrograde doesn't have to be exclusively all bad. It does frustrate astrologers when the notion is that Mercury retrograde can only cause chaos. It can, of course, in terms of travel, ticketing, arrangements, technology, it can cause glitches. But also it helps us to rethink. So the 11th house can also be about our future. So you may be rethinking how you can position yourself as an individual, which is very Aquarian, the 11th house, but at the same time find points of collaboration and cooperation with others. And that's how the Mercury retrograde may work for you. Also, of course, with Venus then going on to align with Pluto, somebody you encounter in year 2023, it could be as early as this week itself, could have a very powerful effect on you. Now, this could just be a friendship, but it could be transformational. Or it could be that you're going to take some big decisions about your future based on how you connect but preserve your individuality. So every zodiac sign, every house, every planet, every angle has a harsher and a more positive combination or potential to it. So I would look at this week as a time to really think about what you want from the long-term future, not just over 2023, but also who are going to be the main players in your life. And if there is a need to have some kind of change there. So if there are friendships that you're finding are unsatisfactory, or you're in a romantic relationship that doesn't really give you a lot of sense of excitement for the long term, big decisions are going to be made. And even if they're not made exclusively this week, I think you're going to set in motion in your thinking and your intentions of where you ultimately need to get to in 2023. I'd like to wish you a very happy new year.